Wasabi guys, welcome back to another Commander video. As always, if you enjoy these, please do subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. Thanks for joining us so far. We're going to be talking about my picks for the top 10 high-risk, high-reward commander options in the format. Now clearly, as you probably know by now, the best commanders are typically the ones with the highest reward and the lowest risk, whereas the worst commanders are typically the ones with the highest risk with a little payoff. So this list we will be discussing cards that don't fall into either category, but could be situationally good or situationally horrible. So let's talk about number 10 here, Gyrus, Waker of Corpses. From Commander 2018, this is sort of a forgotten commander option, mostly because we have a lot of better Jund commanders, we have a lot of better Hydra commander options, we have a lot of better graveyard strategies, even in Jund colors, so if that's what you're looking for, we have plenty. You do have a benefit here of dumping more mana into Gyrus, making it a bigger attacker, where whenever it attacks, you get to exile a creature card with lesser power from your graveyard. You create a token, which of course you want Gyrus's power to be even greater, so you have the most options to choose from. The reason why this is such a high-risk commander option is because you are exiling those cards from your graveyard, and you are just getting a token that will exile at the end of combat. You don't even get to use it for main phase 2 shenanigans. So you really want the most powerful creatures that you can get in your graveyard. For the sole purpose of combat, that is it, which could be incredibly powerful. We do have options like Master of Cruelties, where all you really need to do is hit an opponent once and they're likely going to lose the game. However, there are better commander options that take advantage of Master of Cruelties that don't force you to exile him, so it is kind of a self-defeating graveyard strategy, but still a strong commander in the right situation. So a mixed bag, that's really what makes these commanders interesting in my opinion. They could be horrible, but they could be really good. Number 9, we have Rakdos, the Showstopper. The original incarnation of Rakdos, going back to Dissension, was very similar to this. However, I think Rakdos the Showstopper, this third version of Rakdos, is a little bit more beneficial, treated more like a potential board wipe. But there is a downside here. While you are able to protect Rakdos himself, being a demon, and if you have other demons on your board, they're also protected from this, flipping a coin to destroy other creatures one at a time can often go horribly wrong. And it doesn't really get more clear than coin flipping when it comes to risk and reward. You are risking that none of the creatures you flip a coin for are going to be destroyed. The reward is potentially destroying all of them, or at least the ones you really care about being destroyed. And that's it. That is Rakdos the Showstopper, a very simple ability, but that's why you're playing him as a commander, so that you'll be able to outmatch your opponents in board presence. Number 8 is Jared Carthalion, True Heir. And you'll notice that none of these are going to be bad commanders, otherwise I would have titled the video as such, but it's very clear that this commander option was designed to not just enter the battlefield and have an immediate impact. We are talking about a 3-mana commander in very combat aggressive colors, so having this condition where when he enters, an opponent becomes the monarch, but you can't become the monarch this turn, means that you're going to have to wait in order to attack and get it back, or play other permanents with ETBs that give you the monarch. That's the risk. The risk is you may never get it back, and you're giving card draw to another player. That's something you never really want to do unless you're also getting it for yourself. The reward here is that once you do become the monarch, damage becomes prevented to him, and for each damage that is prevented, you put that many +1/+1 counters on him, which means you can play some crazy spells like Blasphemous Act, dealing 13 damage to him. Instead, he's going to get 13 +1/+1 counters and likely be able to deal commander damage a lot quicker. So either it goes horribly wrong for you and you're outmatched with card advantage, or you get the monarch back as quickly as possible and then go off with Jared. Number 7 is Lind, Cheerful Tormentor. I love the design here because it is a bit counterintuitive. You don't like the idea of having these curses attached to you at all, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you are able to give a curse that is attached to you to an opponent in order to draw 2 cards. The risk involved with this commander is, of course, if your opponent has mass enchantment removal and they're able to destroy all of your curses at once. Lind is still out there, so at the beginning of the next end step, you're going to have all of those curses come back attached to yourself, and at the beginning of your upkeep, just once being able to remove one of those curses is not good enough. So it could go horribly wrong. I still think that is such a rare thing to happen where there's mass enchantment removal and you're in the colors to stop that and you wouldn't be able to. It's still a possibility. It's still a huge risk. The reward is maybe only 1 or 2 curses are destroyed at a time, and your upkeep trigger is way more beneficial. You're getting rid of maybe 1 curse that's attached to you in order to draw 2 cards. So in a way, she becomes more of an engine, which is great for Commander. Commanders that serve as engines are always going to be stronger than commanders that aren't. They help you get through your deck, they help you get to your best spells. Number 6, we have Braids, Conjurer, Adept. Now we get to look at some commander options that are risky because they offer the same benefit to your opponents. That's the risk here with Braids. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player may put an artifact, creature, or land card from their hand into play. Obviously, if you're the Braids player, you're going to have things like Eldrazi's, other large blue creatures, artifacts, which will make this worth it compared to your opponents, who are probably playing on a reasonable mana curve. That being said, the risk is when you're playing against an opponent, and they are playing similarly large creatures, similarly large artifacts, where Braids is no longer the one-sided advantage for the player who has all the large spells. Whenever you're able to cheat anything big into play, even if you are giving it to an opponent, to me I think that's still a pretty decent payoff. It's never a good feeling though whenever you're able to enable someone else's strategy and it was all your fault, the reason why they were able to go off. Number 5, we have Krark the Thumbless. Similarly to why Rakdos is a high-risk, high-reward commander option, it's pretty clear with Krark. You are flipping a coin to determine whether or not you'll be able to copy an instant or sorcery spell you cast. A little bit more options, I think. Long-term, Krark is a better commander option, more versatile. You have the partner mechanic, however, if you're not able to manipulate coin flips, you have about a 50-50 chance of actually doing what you want to do. And if you fail, the risk is that your spell just won't resolve. You're either doubling your output or you're getting stuffed. And when you absolutely need to copy your spell, you need a spell to resolve, period. And if you can't afford for it to be bounced back to your hand, that could lose you a game. Number 4, we have Hirobi, Death's Wail. Whenever a creature becomes the target of a spell or ability, you destroy that creature. It goes both ways, that's the high risk and reward here. Even though your deck is going to be more likely filled with the most cards that just target and don't destroy in order to take advantage of this trigger, you run the risk of an opponent being able to benefit off of this. Hirobi does not protect itself. And this isn't your typical dies to removal argument, it's that Hirobi could die to its own trigger. To me, I've always thought of this Hirobi commander option as a fun gimmick if you were looking to experiment with a new commander option. You have a really cool way to take advantage of this and offer yourself a ton of removal. But just know that your opponents can do the same exact thing. Number 3, we have Karthus, Tyrant of Jund. In the year 2022, Karthus is no longer the strong dragon tribal commander option that it used to be. And even back in the day, if you remember, all it really took was a single clone like a Phyrexian Metamorph. And suddenly, the non-Karthus player who plays the clone is taking control of the Karthus player's entire board. The upside, however, would be taking control of all of your opponent's dragons. Dragons are a very common creature type. While it's not guaranteed in every commander game, I mean, we do have a ton of commander options in the format that are dragons themselves. And not only taking control of them, but giving them haste means that you can afford to be incredibly aggressive. The high risk, however, is that your game could be ruined by playing one clone. Number 2, we have Marlin of the Mornsong. This is a similar downside to Braid's Conjurer Adept. However, as Commander has become increasingly more competitive over the years, something like Marlin is very detrimental if you are playing in a more aggressive combo-centric playgroup. Substituting card draw for being able to tutor and losing 3 life means that all it really takes is for someone to get to their 2-card combo first, and then the game is over. Upside though is that you can do the same exact thing. You can also use this to lock out your opponents, so you're not completely forced into that playstyle. However, I think this is more commonly used to tutor up combos a lot quicker. So either you win quickly or your opponents do. And then number 1, the highest risk, highest reward commander, and it's been this way for a long time, but Phage the Untouchable. You have a commander option that, if it connects, that player loses the game, but if she enters the battlefield in any way other than from your hand, you lose the game. It's not an easy commander option to build around, but there are ways that you can put her into play from your hand. You would need to first get her from the command zone to your hand, so that when she enters, you don't just lose at the spot. It doesn't get more clear than that, either forcing an opponent to lose a game or you lose a game just by not being able to play her, or if your only way of playing her would instantly cost you the game. What makes this even more difficult is that there is no mystery. People know exactly why you're playing this commander, people will see it coming a mile away. That's the incredibly high risk involved here. So not only is she 7 mana, she's expensive for a commander, but you need to build around her in order to actually play her in the first place. But if you do, you can knock players out of the game, make her unblockable. She's a very well-known commander win con, but she does not come without her downside. So let me know what you think about these 10 high-risk, high-reward commander options. Let me know any of the ones that you think are high-risk, high-reward. As always, if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel. We enjoy having you here. Thank you so much. I will see you all next time.